Evening, good evening. I'm going to ask Ms. Carol Chandler if she would please remove herself from camera. This is an interview between Ms. Maxine Royster and her daughter. There will be a time that I will open for guests. Well, hello, good evening. Welcome to Mothers and Daughters Candid Conversation. I am Gloria Walton, your host, and we have Reverend Carolyn Stokes with us as my co-host this evening. And we are anticipating a very great conversation with my guests, Maxine and Claudia Royster, a dynamic mother and daughter team. And I'm going to ask our guests, those that are sharing with Maxine and Claudia tonight, if you would kindly mute yourselves for now. Looking forward to this conversation. You guys, if I didn't know Maxine, I would be saying, well, where's your mother? When is she going to? Age just has not caught up with us. My God. But before we get into this great conversation, let me introduce our co-host. Yes, please let everyone in. My co-host, Carolyn Stokes. She is we have been friends for 40 years. She too has one daughter, which we raised at the same time together. And when Mothers and Daughters started, when the Lord gave me this concept of mothers and daughters, Reverend Carolyn Stokes was one of the dynamic women that joined me every morning in prayer. And she has not only been one of my best friends, but she has been the prayer warrior that has continued to intercede on behalf of mothers and daughters. And here we are today. She also has her own ministry, in which I hope that we will have a show just with her so that you can hear about the dynamic work that she is doing. Many of you will recognize the name Stokes from Jersey City. She's no longer a resident in Jersey City, but her heart is in Jersey City and her ministry is in Jersey City. And, maybe I'll do something different. This conversation was to be with Maxine and her daughter, Claudia. But I see so many guests that are showing up to support them. And I particularly see a face that I know well. So I'm going to, for this show, go ahead. Come on camera. Valerie, come on camera. Carolyn, we got 3 Carolyns, 4 Carolyns here tonight. Come on camera, come on. Join and show your support. Steve, show your support for Maxine and Claudia. We won't delay this conversation. Let me say thank you, Maxine, for saying yes to the invite. I have to say, Claudia, at first she said, I don't know. I've never done anything like this. And then, our emailing, the person that I know, Maxine Royster, said, I'm scared. I said, it ain't so. It just ain't. My grandma would say, it ain't so. Not the Maxine I know. I've never known Maxine Royster to be scared of anything. Smallest bunch, but was not afraid of anything. Thank you. Then she said, oh, I have to ask Claudia. Then she seemed surprised that Claudia said, yeah. I said, what are they afraid of? So anyways, Maxine and I, we've been friends for 40 years. 40 years. I do want to read Maxine's brief bio before we get to Claudia, who I was when I received your bio, and I was so proud. Like, look, I'm in the family. Yes. Yes. So let me, it is appropriate, although I know and have known Maxine for many years, it is appropriate that I would share her bio. I never knew what the B stand for though, but Maxine B. Royster. She is a retired social worker, and she earned her BA in sociology from the Jersey City, now is NJCU. We knew it as Jersey City State College, okay? And she began her career in social services while attending college as an income maintenance technician at the Hudson County Welfare. My. Also worked in the methadone maintenance as a methadone maintenance counselor. And then in 1980, a year after me, she started her rewarding 30-year service with the Division of Youth and Family Services as a field worker, as a supervisor, as a case practice specialist, and a manager of the Institutional Abuse Unit. They don't even call it DIFAS anymore. Sometimes I trip over the acronym, but it is child permanency and planning or something of that nature. But tonight, maybe we'll ask the major the major DIFAS manager to give us the
PMP. Thank you.
You know what? I'm not prepared to be on screen, so I'm switching back to my picture.
But Maxine has been a member of the Mount Pisgah AME Church for over 40 years, and where she's a member of the Ruth Missionary Society. She's also a member of Sarah's Daughters Domestic Violence Awareness Foundation, which is a great organization. And Maxine is doing what so many of us wanted to do, and that is she is now enjoying her retirement by working in church, outreach for Sarah's Daughters, and improving her baking skills. And now I heard something new about you. Not only are you improving your baking skills, but knitting and reading. I knew about reading her Black romance novels, sunning on the beach, and above all, being with family and friends. And that's what I know about Maxine, that she loves family, church, and friends. And my co-host is probably familiar with, I'm going to ask Maxine, after I introduce her daughter, to talk about her family. I always said, when you think about Mount Pisgah, and I told this to Carol, she was trying to recall. I said, the biggest family in Mount Pisgah. They have their own communion day. I mean, that's how many of them. And when you got, when Mount Pisgah got a new pastor, AME, that's my roots. I thought about being an AME Baptist. I was like, can I do that?
That's right.
So, I just want to get these bios out the way so that we can get into our conversation. Although I've known Maxine for 40 years, at the time she was a mother of two. And we heard that she'd given birth to a beautiful daughter, Claudia. I said, wow, that's awesome. 2 boys and a girl. And I said to myself, here's go little diva. And I know that she would be spoiled, well, not by her mother, but by her daddy. Yes, she.
Yeah.
Let's look at Claudia Inez Royster. She has a master's of strategic communications from St. Peter's University. She's been on the Honor Society in grad school. She has a bachelor's of arts in mass communications from St. Augustine's University. And then she was during college. She participated with the NCAA, which is the National Collegiate Athletic Association, if I got that right.
That's right.
Where she where for 4 years as a student, where she was participated with women's track and field. Oh, your daddy couldn't get those boys. I guess he got you, huh?
Yeah.
And there too, she was an honor in the Honor Society, and awarded. She received an award of excellence in journalism, and she is currently a community aide for Jersey City Public Schools, PS 16, from 2019 to current. Education, you can't help it, right? It's in your blood. You can't help it.
Yeah.
A wonderful, wonderful resume. Well, as I said, one thing that Maxine and Carolyn and I have in common is that we have one daughter. One daughter. How great is that? And you know, we come to this show on Thursdays so that we can talk about the uniqueness of mother and daughter relationships, because it is unique. There's no, I don't care how many relationships you will encounter in your life, there is no relationship like the mother and daughter's relationship. And so let's get right into our conversation. Maxine, I mean, I read your bio, right? But I want to start here. When they brought that baby and told you had a girl, after 2 boys.
Right. That's what I was hoping for, Gloria. You know that, right?
Yeah.
At that time, you couldn't do a, what do they call it? The gender reveal.
Oh, gender reveal.
You had to wait till the last minute to find everything. And then when it finally came here, I said, you know what? I don't care what it is, as long as it's healthy and whatever. But after this, there won't be no more. So I got the girl.
You got that girl, and what a beautiful girl she is. And not just beautiful, but this resume says that she is quite intelligent, smart. Yeah. Now I'm really interested, you know, in knowing about Maxine raising a daughter. I know about the boys, you know, I know about the boys. So can I ask one question? And I need both Maxine and Claudia to answer this, because sometimes when I ask this question, the mothers say one thing and daughters say another. And that is, what are your similarities?
Oh, Lord.
Oh,
I think the older I get, people say I act more like her now, the older I am. But before I looked like my dad, act like my dad, did everything.
well, you know, she spent most of the time with her dad, because after having her, she was a preemie.
Okay.
So she had to stay in the hospital for what, 6 to 8 weeks or something like that back then. I was able to stay. Back then, they used to let you stay a week, you know, after you had a cesarean, you know, pamper you and whatnot. But then she was a preemie, so I had to go home. And Gloria, you knew my mother at that time, old folks said, once you come in, you can't come back out until 6 weeks later, you know, whatever. So Steve had to go to after school every day to hold her, feed her, and whatnot. So she was closer actually to him than to me. So, but I did all the, you know, the spoiling with and all the other good stuff. I ain't gonna tell you no story, you know. I always wanted a girl. It was just me and the boys for so long. But I tell you what, if I had her first, Gloria, wouldn't have been no boys. Wouldn't have been no boys. Girls is high maintenance. High maintenance.
You said something,
and I made her high maintenance too. Yeah.
You said something very interesting that our young women probably know nothing about. So we're gonna tell our age a little, and that is, in the day, even in my day, my Iranda is 41 years old, and in our grandmother's days and our mother's days, when you gave birth, right, you were really considered unclean.
Yes.
And you could not do a lot of things. First of all, I don't know if your mother did it, but they would bind you up with this
girl. Tie you all about it.
You know, tie you all up.
As soon as you came home, you got bound up with that whatever she had, whether it was a sheet or whatever, because you know Stevie's 42, so him and Iranda are close.
Yes.
And you had to put that bra on, you had to do that wrap,
That
and then you had to stay in bed and
Yes.
girdle. You couldn't
Yes.
get out of bed, you know, you couldn't wash, you couldn't touch nothing because you were considered unclean.
Yes,
You're absolutely right. You couldn't
Absolutely.
do,
Could not do anything.
get up and go somewhere 2 weeks was blasphemy, girl. Please.
Yes. My grandfather would not allow it. You could not
No.
cook. You couldn't
Nothing.
do anything because you were considered unclean. And the reality of it is, although it was, seemed like old folk tale kind of a stuff, I now understand what they meant is because it takes our bodies so long to heal after childbirth.
Yes.
They couldn't articulate that, you
Yes.
know. So they had some other kind of old ways of trying to take care of us. Yeah. So
And see, I was brought up by, well, your grandmother would have been with my mother because I was the 13th. So when my mother had me at that time, she was 41 years old, which was considered, young. If my father hadn't died, she probably would have had more. You understand?
Jesus.
Yes. So I was brought up in that, my mother was born 1910. So I was brought up in that generation. I wasn't brought up with Gloria's generation.
Mhm.
Right.
I was brought up with her mother's generation. So my thing in upbringing daughters and everything, I didn't have that much knowledge. Everything I did was what I thought I should do.
Right.
But she'll tell you now, she'll be like, I don't know nothing about doing hair. I can't do makeup. I can't do this. I can't do that. So I had to learn on my own.
Right.
Well, Max was the youngest,
Yeah.
the youngest of 13. But what I do know, I do recall some of your sisters. Boo Gal was my girl.
Oh yes, everybody
But
loves
that's
her.
what I'm named after.
That's who she's named after.
Oh,
Claudia.
Yes.
I was about to say, Carol, I said Boo Gal. I didn't even know her name. I know Boo Gal.
Most people did.
Yeah, and I know the major diva of the family, Grace.
Oh, well, yes.
My mama.
And your other sister that lived on Union Ave. Oh my God, I think
Laura.
Laura, yeah,
Up from you, up from me, up the street from you.
Laura, yeah. So I know them. I knew them, and so I knew, and I still know what kind of family you were raised in, and the kind of traditions that you had. And I'm just wondering if you pass any of those traditions on to your daughter.
Oh, Lord, yes. Everything.
I try.
Let me hear about it.
Well, I think more so when I became like a teenager, that's when me and mommy started bonding more, especially like over the shopping thing. It was like, if I didn't have a track meet, we shopping somewhere, and it's with all her sisters. It ain't just her, it's all of them. So this is a whole Saturday. So my friends used to be like, oh, let's go here and here. I'm like, yo, I can't go. I got to go shopping with my aunts and my mother. I can't go.
It's a family affair.
Right. But even now, like even as they gotten older, I go pick everybody up. You make a day of it. And you could be going to get one thing, a shirt. Who knows? But they want to stay out all day. They want to take you out to eat. You have to listen to everything. This shirt don't fit. That skirt don't fit. You gain some weight. You need to lose some weight. Now you can wear this. Now you can do that. So I think that's why I got a tough skin, because they would let me know right away, like, this is ugly. What are you doing? Or why are you doing this? And they will call me out like in the middle of the street. Like I could be in Jersey City, minding my business, driving my car down the street. Somebody stopped me. What are you doing? Why are you wearing that? Why you look like that? You know better than that. I'm like, I can't just go in, come out. I can't do any of that. So I love it, because now even family, like my cousins or whatever, we spot each other from everywhere. And people be like, oh, you a Hawkins, aren't you? I don't have to say my name or anything. I went to start working at 16. There's 3 people that know my whole family and never met them a day in my life.
Wow.
So
but that must be of that, I am the daughter with 2 brothers, right? Mm-hmm. Small family. So to have that many women concerned about you, I do know that it kind of cut down on where you can go and what you can do, because you never know who's going to see you.
Exactly.
Right? But
that's why I went to North Carolina and came back.
But the family tradition is so rich, you know. As I said, I know some of the aunts, you know, and that family tradition that got passed down to you, Claudia. You're gonna realize when you become a mother, not only how rich that is, but I always make reference to this book that I love, and it's entitled "I'm My Mother's Daughter, I'm My Mother's Friend, I Am My Mother." And you said, the older I get, they say, the more I like my mother. Carol, what about you? Can you see that in your daughter?
Yes, the similarities, her behavior with her son. You can see, I can see how she's raising him, the protection with him, the pickiness. He could come to me and I said, well, he just gonna go home. Ma, he has to be completely dressed when he goes home. You can't send him home in pajamas. You can't do this, you can't do that. And I was the same way. I used to tell my sister, don't you give my baby no fat back when she at your house. So yes, the similarities that you pass them on to your children, to your daughters, especially the daughters. Me and my mom used to go to Chock full of Nuts in New York.
Oh my
And
God.
it was just special for her to have that hot dog and cup of coffee. Then we go to Gimbel's and shop. So I went through the same thing with my mother. Then me and my daughter did it. So I can, you know, I'm familiar with what you're saying. And it's special. You never forget that. You never forget that, Claudia. That is great. That'll go with you in life, Claudia.
Oh, well, I know. It's so many stories I could tell, but one I always tell about my Sweet 16, and I was a tomboy all the way. So I just wanted a party. That's it. Here they go, her, my aunt Boo Gail, and my aunt Nellie Inez, and they said, "Oh, let's just go look for dresses. Like it's we ain't gonna buy nothing. We just gonna look." So I'm like, okay.
All right.
I come out with this princess ball gown that I do not want to wear. I can't go to the bathroom, and it took 4 people to get me in the dress. But they just crying and everything. I'm like, well, Dad, I guess I ain't got no choice. My Sweet 16 looked like a wedding. So if I don't ever get married, he better. But I'm just saying, I know what a wedding feels like. And this was all her because she's, oh my God, this is like, oh my goodness.
What an awesome story.
I can't stand that dress. That dress is downstairs in this basement. It itched. I didn't want to wear stockings. They made me put on a tiara. Now, yeah, back then, no, I didn't want to wear any of that. I mean, it was beautiful now that I look at it, but back then I was like, I don't even like this guy. I don't want to stand next to him. I don't want to do this.
What an awesome story, Max. I guess, you know, that feeling of finally having a daughter, and having to realize, oh, she's not a doll, you know, because if I know you, I'm sure she had the crinoline slips.
I did. Oh, I did.
And the Mary Janes, and the double lace frill socks. But you know,
well, you know it. But you know what, Gloria? The reason, I guess I have to give a little background. You know, I came from the country. We grew up in Newberry, South Carolina. Sharecroppers, my parents were. Mm-hmm. You know, my father died 6 months before I was born. Make a long story short, I never knew him, never got a picture of him or anything. So I was brought up by a woman.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you know how it is with families migrate, as the oldest one get older, they move up, whatever. So when I was about 6 or 7 years old, it was just me, my sister Inez that you know, and there's like 5 boys between us. Mm. Okay. So my next sister next to me is 12 years older than I am. So I never had a sister, like close to my age. Right. But be that as it may, they wanted mama to come to Jersey City. So here we go, 1961, we leave the farm, leave the country down in Newberry, where they moved into town now, let me tell you. And we moved to Newberry to Communipaw Avenue, across from where the factory is now.
Yes.
To a cold water flat. Do you hear me?
Yes, yes.
My mother had to struggle. When she was down south, she worked 2 jobs. She cooked in the school cafeteria, and she left that, and then she was a short order cook at a truck stop. So when she came up here and to a cold water flat where we had to share the bathroom with the next door neighbor, she was so overwhelmed, like I was better off when I was in Newberry. Yeah. So she had to pull herself back together at what, 50-something years old, coming to New Jersey. She went to Hudson County Welfare because she had to get some funds, got on the Title 20 program, got her certification as a chef, became a chef at St. Francis Hospital, left there and went to the Board of Education as like a truancy aide or whatever. At 75 years old, she retired from the Jersey City Board of Education.
Wow.
And she was strict. So Gloria, you know, I was a church girl. I ain't know nothing about the party, couldn't go nowhere if my brother didn't take me or whatever. But that instilled in you to want to do better.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Yes.
And not, when I had my daughter, I wanted to do a little bit better. Because when I grew up, when I came to Jersey City, she was scared. I don't know how to ride a bike. I don't know how to skate. But I couldn't do none of that because we coming from the country and she was scared. So I used to, on Randolph Avenue, I used to see the girls with the cotillions pulled up in the limos and the white gowns. I always wanted to be a Girl Scout and take dance. But my mother was too afraid because she didn't know. Right. You understand? So I couldn't do all of those things. So when I finally got Claudia, I just went buck crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just wanted her to experience all of those things that I wasn't able to do. And don't get me wrong, I'm rotten to the core. Don't get me wrong. I had a great life.
Right.
I can't complain about a thing, but I didn't get to experience those things because my mother didn't know how to manipulate or how to get into those circles. You know, she was a community NAACP and all of that, but social things, she was not going to let her child go out there.
Right.
You know, right. I had an opportunity to be in the ABC program in high school. I'm sure you're aware of that, where I got accepted to Mount Holyoke, and Dr. Finn trying to talk her into letting me go. She told her, I'm not letting my child go nowhere where I ain't there to supervise her. So there goes Zoom, no Mount Holyoke. So in that saying that's why I guess not spoiled, but I wanted to expose her, you know. Me and my mother, it was just us, and we clean up on a Friday night, have everything ready. Saturday morning, we get up, go to breakfast and go shopping. And she take all the daughters to go shopping and buy us something, you know, because something she didn't have, to make sure that we had appreciate, you know, our life and what was good for us. And we've had a good life. I mean,
but I think that's where we differ too, because she always says, like, the way she grew up, certain stuff she tells me to do, I'm like, Mom, nobody do that no more. We don't have to do that. Like, even certain things, like, she wasn't a strict parent. I don't know how she was with my brothers. They like way older than me. I have no clue. But with me, I was actually surprised because she let me do a lot more than my friends with younger moms. You know, where I'm at, majority of my friends, it's a 2-parent, you know, family, whatever. But some of my best friends only had their mom. So it would be things like, hey, I want to go to a party. And my mom be down. All right, yeah, come on. Y'all want to go? We pick you up, drop you off. There was no, like, we could call her at 11:30, like, hey, can you come and get us? Because, you know, whatever, you know, stuff like that. She was the cool mom. And even into college, my friends in college wanted her to come to homecoming. They could care less about me. They wanted her to come. But I think that was great. But then also when I got a little bit older, sometimes I wish she was a little more strict, because there were certain things, like I wanted my mom to tell me, yes, no, whatever. Don't just say, hey, this is what I would do. Like, I need to know what to do. Tell me what to do. Don't give me the option. Yes. So that was a little difficult becoming an adult, because then I had to realize my relationship with my mom might change a little bit, because
Yes.
I'm also an adult now too. So there's sometimes situations where she want to give me her opinion. I don't want to hear it. I take it. But then I also say, well, hey, mom, you got to let me do it. Like you did it. Let me do it. Let me figure it out. It's not always going to be the same.
Right.
You know.
I'm so glad she's sharing that, because I'm going through that with my daughter now. She's in her 30s and I want to say stuff. And she said, hey, let me do it on my own. So I'm glad to hear you say that. Makes me feel much
She still
better.
says it. Like, I don't always want to hear it, but I will say there'll be situations like, Dad, my mama told me don't do this, and I did it anyway. But I won't tell her. I won't tell her.
Give me my props.
Like later on, I'll be like, you know what, Mom, remember when we talked about this? You know, you was right. I did this, but you were right.
I want to interject something before we go on with this conversation, because I need to respond to what Claudia is saying. But before that, I don't want to bypass the strength that Maxine shared about her mother. And that's what so many of our young people don't understand. When you try to share from our foundation as mothers, coming from strong women who had it hard growing up themselves, you know, and look, our parents lived through Jim Crow, okay? They lived through the prejudices and the low economic, the poverty, okay? They lived and they survived during those times. They lived through the times that they had to protect their daughters. Look, not only from men on the outside, but men on the inside of the family as well. And so what I hear you saying, Maxine, about your mother, that's why I am in love with this concept of mothers and daughters, because no, we don't always get it right as mothers, but when we look at the generations of women in our lives, and I think this is applicable not just to the Black mother, although Black women have had to be very strong, and that's another conversation that I don't want to get into, but they've had to be strong for many reasons. And your mother no different, given, you know, the number of kids and the fact that your father passed that, and while you were a child, she was left to fend for her family, and she made some hard decisions. But you said something that was so beautiful, that on a Saturday, she would take all her daughters to the store and made sure that each one of them had something. Oh man, that's awesome. Had something. Do you know how many daughters wish their mother today in 2021 would take the time to take them to the store, not order on Homes Shoppers Network and all of this, you know, but would invest the time to go to the store, and no matter the cost. Because I'm sure, you know, she didn't take you to Neiman's Marcus and, you know, to Macy's.
The other day.
No, you, but Maxine, you didn't take her to Neiman's Marcus. No, my favorite store. No, no matter what I'm trying to show is the generations, how women inherit. And I'm going to keep it on Black and brown families. Well, no, I won't make it a racial issue. How women, mothers inherit this strength, either strength or weakness from our mothers. And we can always find something that resemble our mothers. Now, up to Claudia's, I just wanted to give your mother her props. What was her name?
Oh, no, of course.
Maxine, what was her name?
Eddie Mae Hawkins.
Well, we give Eddie Mae her props because she raised some strong daughters. You know,
I always ask for my mother, because my grandmother was a lot older when I realized who she was. I even say now, I just want to sit down and say, so what was you thinking when you got pregnant 13 times? And because my idea of pregnancy, this hurts. never had kids, but I'm just saying there's certain questions I really wish I could ask her. And I asked my mom and she was like, I don't know. She just did it. Yes.
Let me say something, okay? About childbirth. I say this all the time. I found out why they called it labor. You're absolutely right. It is a work, okay? Right. But I want to speak to what you were talking about in reference to taking at the moments where you want your mother and not a friend. Mm-hmm. You want your mother's advice, whether you take it or not. And then when you make that conscious decision not to take it, and it turns out not the way you wanted it, you say, Mommy was right. Well, my relationship with my daughter is sometimes, Maxine, I just say it, and I have, I pay the consequences because she'd be upset with Mommy. Oh, by the way, don't tell her, but she's upset with Mom right now. Okay, don't anybody tell her. Because she might think that I don't know that she's upset with me. Okay? I know. You know when your child is mad with you. And I love her with every ounce of blood in me. But sometimes, there's parenting, they didn't come with a pamphlet. And each one, I only have one, but I know that she has her own identity and her own personality. And so Carol as Tyria, and so is Claudia. But there comes those times of conflict, okay? How do you deal with conflict in your relationship?
You're gonna say something totally different than me.
Well, you know what? I tread cautiously because I come from, like I said, 2 generations almost. So, with boys, it's different. I have to start there, and my kids are so far apart, it gave me a chance to regroup before each one. Mm-hmm. So Claudia, Stevie's 42, Jermaine's 38, and Claudia is just 32. So each one of my kids are in a different zone, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not confrontational because I can be, like Gloria said, I can be hard, So I try to watch my tongue because you don't want to say the wrong thing, but I want to be stern and get my point across. Mm-hmm. And I confront her. I just, whatever it is, I'm like, Claudia, what in the world are you thinking about? And I'm going to say this, and she's not going to be happy with me with this because of, she's in a relationship and we're good. It's good. Please. So I'm like, well, where it going? You know how you with your daughters, like how long it's going to take, when all of that. And she tells me
that was not necessary. That wasn't necessary. And again, I have to tell her.
That'll get you in trouble every time, though.
No.
Can we just be mothers for a minute, Claudia?
No.
Can we just be mothers?
No. I let her say it. I let her go full steam ahead. But okay. I also have to tell her, hey, Mom, you got married at 20-something. I ain't ready for that yet. Let me be. Let me do my thing. And I think it's because also that, like you said, the age, how far apart we are, and the way my grandmother raised my mom, obviously is totally different from me because the society is totally different. Right. So for me, I've been with them for a while, but I need to take my time. I need to figure it out. So now that, I'm at a point where I'm a little more stable, it's like, okay, now let me think about it. Trust me, you will be the first person to know when it happens. And just trust that you raised me the right way to make the decision. And I always say, it's not gonna, me and him are not you and my dad. It ain't gonna be the same. You have to sometimes just let me do my thing. And then there are some times when she's wrong and she'll say, you know what, you right.
Yeah,
I didn't know. And that was also because even the issue of dating, she'll say, I didn't get a chance to date, but my mom was like, hey, You
Yes.
know, I want you to figure out what you would like. But I said, hey, you let me do it. Now let me do it. Let me, you know. And I was also saying one of the great things, like she was saying that things that she didn't get a chance to do, like with me, she said, college, you going away. She said, I don't care what you saying, you leaving. I said, well, why are you pushing me out the house? Like, I want to, because my dad wanted me to stay in Jersey City and run for him. And my mother said, oh no, you are packing your stuff up and you are leaving.
What a great experience.
You're going to get coached by somebody else. You're going to stay away from home. You need to figure this out. You need this part, because if you stay here, you're not going to get that same experience.
Right. What a
But
great.
even though I was 8 hours away, this lady was in her Celica pulling up, and I have security calling me, Miss Royster, I think your mom is here. Did you know she was coming? No, I didn't know she was coming. Now I'm trying to hurry up and clean stuff up, and my teammates and my roommates like, I think your mom is on campus. Where do we go? I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? So she let me have my space, especially to experience different things with dating, being away from home and things like that. Like I remember my first party I went away to my freshman year. You know, we going to Shaw, we going to, you know, a pajama party. I call my mom when I leave my room. I call her when I get back. I call her when I'm in class, when I walk to class, everything. So I just happened to give the phone to my father. And he's like, you call me when you get back from the party. She didn't know that. So about 4 a.m, what do? I call. She get ready to drive down to North Carolina, think somebody to kidnap me or something. She was like, don't you ever do this ever again. I don't care if your father, what he say. I was like, okay. So ever since then, we've been cool. I could text her, like, listen, I'm leaving out. If you don't get this text back from me by like midnight, call somebody because something ain't right. So ever since then, we done had a system. But we just had to figure it out. It ain't always the easiest. And I think because I am the only girl, I think sometimes, like, you know, we like any women, like, you getting on my nerves. I don't want to see you right now. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah. But beyond that, Claudia, I think that your mother's career, over 30 years as in child protection services, and also her involvement with Sarah's daughters, understanding about, you know, domestic violence, and you know, if DIFES prepares you for so much, right? But it also makes you paranoid about things as well.
But that was one thing. She wasn't too bad.
Oh, my daughter wouldn't tell me.
She wasn't too bad.
My daughter wouldn't tell me her friends' names because she thought I was going to look up.
Oh, she did do that. She did that.
Oh, you know I did that. You know I did that.
You know, but you know, that is just a safety, you know, that's just being aware of what's out there, because kids do want to explore, you know, but I understand things are different now than it was for us, but there's some things that don't change. The Bible says that there's nothing new under the sun. And when it comes to dating and relationships, and there's just some rules up in there that never actually change. And we don't realize it. You know, we can, and I you know, I've had this conversation with my daughter. I said, you know, from a faith perspective, be mindful of the spirit, because he can be, whether he's tall, short, fat, or skinny, if you get the same spirit, it doesn't matter what he looks like on the outside, you're going to get the same results. And so when mom wants to know, where's this going? You know, it's like, it's that mother intuitiveness that can see a little bit. My grandmother would say, see a little bit farther down the road than we can. And no mother wants their daughter to waste their time. I know that Maxine got married. Well, now I know, because Claudia said at 22. I never knew that. So
she was a child bride. I don't want to do
okay. but before your dad, you know, swiped her off of her feet, I'm sure that she had to have encountered, you know, one or two relationships that she knew wasn't going to go any place, to have that experience, you know, so that she can ask those questions. Where is this going? Because like no one you will ever meet, not even like dad, a mother. And that's why our theme tonight is my mother, my friend, and my protector. You know, now how we protect our daughters is unique to our own experiences, you know. And do daughters like it all the time? No. No, they don't. And you know what I like, Claudia, is it has a look, I can see her mom and her dad. She's outspoken. And so I'm sure she does not hold back when she disagrees with mom.
I try only because one time I was in high school and I got like my first like fight, got into an argument or whatever, and she overheard me on the phone. And when I came, she was like, "Oh my God, why did you say that? That was so mean." I was like, and ever since then, I always stop. I'm like, okay, before you say what you gonna say, I try to at least. I really do, because I always hate the fact that like after like, dang, I really hurt their feelings, didn't I? Even though I wanted to hurt your feelings, but then after the fact, I feel really bad. So sometimes I really do try and stop, because if she never said that, I just would have kept on going. And, and I think that I get that from my dad a little bit. But even with each other, she'll tell me like, "Dad, Chloe, that was below the belt. Like, you shouldn't have said that." And I'm like, yeah, well, you shouldn't have said it either. And then I think we realize, okay, we might have that in common. And it might take a couple of weeks, a couple of days to get over it. But I always understand where she's coming from. I can't deny that part. I always understand that part.
But you know, when you just said about the mothers very protective of their daughters, whatnot, and I guess I can take another perspective on it because I have boys, but I was just as protective of my boys as I was my girls, as Claudia, you know, because that's the mother in you.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Just like I did with Claudia. And I guess I gave my kids freedom because, you know, I couldn't do some of the things that they were able to do. You know, I could afford for them to do. So I just made sure that, you know, when they were going someplace or whatever, I never had a problem with that. You know, they never gave me a problem of backlit or nothing like that. I don't know why, I don't know, whatever, but, you know, they get a little rough here and there. You know, you got to pull them up, yank them by the collar. But I never, my kids, even my oldest, when they wanted to go to parties or do whatever, they didn't have a problem with me taking them. They didn't have a problem with calling me and saying, picking them up. You know, Claudia used to go to these things down at, what is it, Symphony Hall? What is it?
Parties
or whatever. I had my car be full. I picked up everybody's daughter. I'm dropping them off. You know, and you know, God puts you in places of protection.
Right.
And I'm telling you, Gloria, no matter where I took them, there was an adult that I knew there was there. You understand what I'm saying? And they would say, "Oh, you Maxine Hogan's daughter? Oh, okay, we got you." You know, and if something broke out at the party, even my sons, they didn't have a problem. Say, "Mom, something done happened here. You and Daddy got to come pick me up." Yeah. So we always had a good relationship, you know, with our kids, because we never thwarted them. You know what I'm saying? Yes. But if it was something that we didn't feel appropriate, they just didn't go. It was simple as that.
So, you know? Share with us, if you will, how do you overcome conflict?
I'm kind of like my mother like that. We ain't have no conflict because this is my house. I'm the mama and daddy up in here. You know, and I have to be serious with you. Yeah. When I was at home, we didn't have that. When my mother said, "Go," if she said to us, she called our name and we didn't get up and move, you better let me tell you, and don't answer her what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not, "I'm coming." No, you better be on your way.
You better be on your way. You understand me? So I never really I brought him up that way, and with the help of my sister Laura kept all of our children.
Yes.
We had family to raise our children
Right.
at that point, and stress those things. But I never really had to just, go dog it like that. I don't think. Maybe once or twice.
Claudia?
I really didn't. I think I have a great.
We have a great relationship, but there have been times. Let us not. And also I think this is because like our parents, she said we old school, so they raised us that way, right? So I would see my friends and they would talk to their parents like, no, mom, I'm not doing it. So like one day I tried, and was like, well, I'm gonna see if this worked too.
Jesus.
And I did it. And that was the one time I said, this lady is nuts. I ain't messing with her. And I had to be out, and I was like 16. This is when I just felt like comfortable enough to be like, well, Dad, why my friends could talk to their mom like that? I can't talk to my mom. And I never had a reason to. But one day I was feeling myself and I decided like I was gonna say something. I gave my grandmother must have came back from the grave and she came through her. And when she handled me, I was like, you got it. I don't want to mess with you no more. I'm good. Ever since then, we've been straight. I haven't had a issue.
Love it. I love it.
I tried it just a little bit. And when I told my friends what happened, they was like, so what did you do? I said, I went back in my room and closed the door like she told me to. I ain't messing with you.
You said all 411 of her, right?
Yes. And that's the thing. And people always see her and they be like, oh, your mom, she ain't gonna do nothing. I said, this the lady you gotta worry about. Because there's been plenty of times, like I ran track all my life since I was 5 years old through college. And there has been times where she has had to have some words with some coaches when my dad wasn't there. And these men are big. These ain't no little, she has said some words I will not repeat because she did work for diapers. I always want to say that because this is after the fact. I'm like, where you work, right? You could get fired for stuff like this. And she's like, no, I won't. I'll call him and tell him I did it myself. I'm like, oh, all right, well, do your thing. But people always thought they had to worry about my dad. I said, no, y'all, this the crazy lady right here. Y'all don't have to worry about him. My father, like when he gone and I call him and say something happened, he's like, well, you all right? Well, what you want me to do? I'm like, okay, well, yeah. So now a lot of people know we don't mess with Miss Royster because she a little off the chain sometimes. Because you only got to do it one time. She scared you once and then you good. You don't have to worry about it no more. I don't know what my brothers did, but with me, I saw that. I said, I ain't dealing with that. I'm good. So I wish whenever I do have children, I have that. So I only got to do it one time.
Yes, that's good. So I want to transition to your faith. As long as I've known you, Max, you've been a woman of faith. How did you how did you share your faith with your daughter?
Well, they've always been with me to church. I mean, what else do we know? Sunday school, YPD, the whole bit. I took my children with me until they got to a point where they had to find Christ on their own.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
So they have a background and they know they know God and they believe in God. They believe that he died on the cross and saved us and whatnot. And she's in church with me now. She's joined the missionary.
I had no choice.
Okay. She's with me at Sarah's Daughters. And she goes with me everywhere, just like when my mom with church and everything, that was my thing, with that. But with Claudia, she goes with me everywhere. If I'm going to a party or something and I need them, I say, Claudia, come, and I go with her. It's not like that. I don't know. I guess it's like a sisterhood, motherhood, something kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because we have that relationship in our family. Like I never, I had girlfriends in high school, don't get me wrong, but my nieces, Valerie, Michelle, Sheila, Rosie, all of them, we're all in that same age group. So we didn't need no outside friends because we had our family friends, our family girlfriends.
It's like that now.
And we're all in church together and it's the same we just together.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Also,
I mean, I want to transition to, I wrote this, this devotional. It's called Mothers and Daughters Candid Conversations, right?
Mhm.
And one of the questions, one of the exercises that's in here is for mothers. And the exercise is that mothers take some self assessment to ask themselves, what, in raising my daughter, is there anything that I need to repent from? Did I cause any emotional? Well, it's actually this proclamation. It says, I repent if I cause my daughter any emotional harm, any mental harm, any physical harm, anything that could interfere with her learning how to have healthy relationships, learning how to love herself, learning how, because the most difficult thing sometimes is learning how to love ourselves. When we teach our daughters how to love themselves, then they learn how to ward off some of the other, because there's always wolves in sheep's clothing. And some things have not changed. Men still go to church to get the church girl. Okay. And so,
yes.
And so that question is not one that I don't know if you would be comfortable in answering that, or
I well, in hindsight is 2020.
Right.
And I'm going through this phase now. I'm 67 years old, I'll be 68. And I do sometimes wonder, when you sit back, you know the song, when you sit back and think things over, that I could have done some things differently. I wish, and I only can say this now because sometimes she says things to me. At one point she said to me, you were bullied.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, Claudia, what are you talking about? You was bullied. I'm like, I never, this is the kids, my kids never had downtime. I guess my husband being a teacher, me being a social worker, knowing the world, I guess to a certain extent, they had schedules. So, if she had an issue after school, she went to track practice or dance class, and one of us are picking her up, or her older brother or whatever. So where in between somebody gonna bully her? You understand? And if I had known that my child was being bullied by someone, Gloria, you know what we would have done.
I want for context. For context, it wasn't bullying how bullying is now. It's like, ooh, you got something on your face. Like, it was little stuff like that. But because I handled it on my own. I didn't think about, by the time I got home, I probably wasn't even thinking about it no more. And so now when all the bullying stuff, the suicide, the stuff that's going on, and I be like, Dad, I was bullied, but I ain't feel like that. And she'd be like, who bullied you? And I'm like, it's not the same. It's not the same as that, but they always taught us I knew how to handle myself. Like if somebody said something to me that I didn't like, I probably said it back to them and kept it pushing.
Yeah.
But I'm saying kids now don't do that. So that's when I was talking to her about it. That's what I meant. And I felt bad after I said it, because she really felt bad for a few days. Like, oh my God, what happened? Like, why you never told me? I'm like, trust me, you knew all the important stuff. That wasn't important.
I do. I have. I think sometimes that I wish I've had been a more of, and that's only now, like a real mother-daughter kind of thing, teaching moment, because my mother didn't have time. Like we didn't sit down, my mother and I had a mother-daughter like this. It was do as you were told, boom, boom, boom. And even when changes come with you from you're going to puberty and whatnot, she didn't have time to sit down and talk. She said, go get your older sister, or she would say, go see Boogale or go see Nellie or whatever. So we never had that health education, that a relationship with a man because my mother raised us. I didn't have a father figure in the home. So those kind of things, I don't understand a father-daughter relationship. You understand? That's something when her and Steve are talking to what I'm like, I don't know nothing. I don't, because I never had that. So everything she has from me is limited because I was limited. And by the time I got quick enough for it, she's already grown. You understand?
Yes.
So there's a lot of things that I wish I could have done or should have done with her, as well as with the boys. But you know, when you come from my type of background, I just didn't know.
Right.
Like you and Iranda may have a better relationship because you're with your mother. You understand what I'm saying? My mother was like a grandmother. So things she did some things were taboo, you just didn't do. You know.
Right.
You know, it's like coming home from school and taking your school clothes off and putting your play clothes on, or you got your church clothes and your church underwear you only wear on Sunday because you know that's the kind of background I come from.
Yes.
You understand? So her friends, parents, they look at me as the senior. You understand? Because when she was coming up, when I had her, everybody thought I was the grandmother. Yeah. You know, because I'm the oldest. Yeah, and her oldest brother was the father. You know, I'm taking Stevie, dropping him off at Morgan, and she graduating from kindergarten. Come on, Gloria, you know I was I don't know what I was doing. I'm just moseying along.
Well, I want to say again, thank you for this great conversation. I have enjoyed it. You know, I moved from a state of mourning. I lost a great friend this week.
Yes,
and,
yes.
But my spirits was lifted just remembering that I was scheduled for this conversation with you and Claudia tonight. So I just could not wait to hear this conversation. And I want to say to our Facebook viewers, in which Max, some of your friends are on, some of Natalie is on, some of our Rikers workers, co-workers, former co-workers are on. I want to say thank you for viewing. Thank you for listening. And thank you for all of those that's on Zoom with Maxine and Claudia tonight. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, this is Mothers and Daughters Candid Conversations. I also want to thank my co-host tonight, Carolyn Stokes. And not only do I want to thank Carolyn for being my co-host, but this month is Women's Month, where we celebrate and honor women. And so this last few minutes of our show, I want to honor my friend Carolyn Stokes. She had no idea I would say this, for Women's History Month, as being an awesome mom, an awesome minister, an awesome friend. You are a true woman of God, and I honor you and all of your accomplishments, not just in 2020, but for the future, for the doors that God will open for you, the places and the tables that he will seat you at. I want to thank all of you again. If you didn't know, we are here every Thursdays from 8 to 9. Again, Mothers and Daughters Candid Conversations. And it's just a conversation. My daughter actually birthed this. And it's a candid conversation. We're not being therapists. We are just having a real talk with mothers and daughters. And I'm going to give Maxine and Claudia the last words. But again, it's Mothers and Daughters Candid Conversations. And it is a moment to share. Someone is listening that will gain something pertaining to their parenting. We have too many children being abused. We have such strains on mothers and daughters relationships. You know, we have our daughters caught up in human trafficking. We have them in bad, unhealthy relationships. And so it's time to start the conversation. You know, not always the don't do as I do, but do as I say. You know, it's time to have real conversations. It's time to break those generational curses. And so we're out of time, but I want Max and Claudia and Carolyn to give us some last words. I'll start with Carolyn and close out with our guests. Again, thank you, Claudia, for pushing your mother to be on here tonight. God bless you.
I just want to quickly thank Gloria for the words of honor.
Yeah.
And I want to say that for a long time, I was saying to my daughter, when are we going to have that mother and daughter time together? And just in February, she said, Mom, I want to take you out. I want to spend the day. And then we did it again in March. And I want to tell you that that is so much strength in having that mother and daughter, if it's not but once a month. When you get that time to be with your mother, that is a precious time. When you get that time is also to be with your daughter. And I experienced what Gloria shared about that repentance prayer. And I shared that with my daughter to clear the slate, to make sure that when I was immature and didn't know a whole lot about mothering, my mother wasn't there, that you forgive me. And I'm telling you, the best thing, whoever's listening, is don't live in any regret, but make that slate very clean, and so that relationship could stay tight. Claudia and Maxine, you are awesome. You are an awesome mother and daughter, and I have truly enjoyed listening to your story. And I hope that we get to spend time together in the near future.
Yes,
Thank you for having me, Gloria.
Yes.
Amen. We're gonna let Maxine go, and then a little princess Royster will close us out.
That's not me anymore. We got two little ones now, so I'm out.
Yeah, she's been pushed to the background, but I'd like to say thank you too. I truly have enjoyed this. I mean, with the pandemic and everything, I'm getting really good at this Zoom thing. I do all my meetings on Zoom and everything else. But I just want to do a plug to social workers. We need social workers. We need social workers with passion and love and care. When we were working for DIFAS, we worked hard. Those were our passions. We did what we wanted to do. That's all I've ever wanted to do, was be a social worker. And we did it, Gloria. We were in the field, Valerie, we did it. And I could see clients years from now, and they would remember me. Miss Royster was my social worker. Okay. And all mothers out there, whether it's daughters or sons, just listen, open up your heart and your mind and listen, because, when they were growing up, we didn't have as much distraction as we have now, but with social media and everybody else, keep your children close to you, talk with them, listen to them, and keep them close with God. You got to keep them close with the prayers. You got to keep them covered in the blood, because there are people out there, like Gloria said, they're just waiting to snatch your children off. Okay.
Last week, Max, I actually used the show to honor social workers, because March is National Social Workers Month.
Right.
And so many of our former co-workers were on, and it was.
I listened.
Oh, it was really a great.
I would have known. I would have been on.
Well, actually, I'm gonna have to let Claudia talk. No.
But before you let her talk, let people know that I do have two beautiful sons, Stephen Jr. and Jermaine. And now I'm proud grandmother of two lovely granddaughters, Hannah and Naomi.
Oh, that's
now
so
she can talk.
Congratulations. But Valerie, Adela shouted you out last week.
We sure did. Yes.
Did she?
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did.
Yes. And so I'm blessed that every week so many of them follow my show. So you guys pray for us. Go ahead, Claudia.
I just had a great time. This has been fun. We talk like this all the time, so this is not just for the video. And just for girls like me, just be patient with your mom. There's no, like you said, there's no rule book. And be patient with yourself, because you figuring it out just like your mom is figuring it out. So I spend time with her every week. We might go have a drink, might go shopping, might go do something, but we always have that time. And whether it be a good conversation, a bad conversation, I'm still calling her in the morning, like, hey, mom, I'm on my way to work. I'm just letting you know. You know, so it wasn't always like that, but I love it that it's now. Maybe because I'm older, I appreciate it more. Yeah. So just, I don't know. Now it's just like every day, just get through the day. It's so much stuff going on. Like,
yes.
Get through the day. Just try to be as positive as you can. Smile at least once out of the day. It ain't that bad. We here, so it can't be too bad.
Can't be too bad. It's good to be right.
Oh, and shout out! I'm wearing my one of my girlfriends. She has a clothing line, so we're wearing her sweatshirt, Citizen Rose. So I told her I would shout her out before it was over.
I was admiring your sweatshirt.
Thank you. Yes, one of my girlfriends in my master's program, she's finally started her clothing line. So we stick together.
We're sticking together.
Wonderful. Congratulations on her clothing line. And you know, what happened, maybe you can share that information with me. I can have her on the show, because I like highlighting our young entrepreneurs. We've had some.
And also my cousin Tiana, she just great makeup artist. I couldn't get over to her today to do this, but please shout her out as well. She just started her own business and everything. So them two, those are close to my heart. So shout those out.
Wonderful. And you're a natural beauty. So
thank you. I get it from my mama. Thank you.
Yes. For somebody who don't even know how to do hair, okay, or makeup.
It's beautiful. You look beautiful.
God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
This pray for us as we well, right now, given the pandemic, we can't travel physically, but we have reached out internationally to other mothers and daughters. We have a team from Jamaica I hope to be able to share with us here. And, you know, God is good. So obedience is better than sacrifice. And I'm trying to be obedient to God. And that being said, my back office is giving me hits that I'm a little bit over. You know, I had to turn the fireplace off because I was having a hot one.
Let's not even talk about that.
So I have really enjoyed this conversation. God bless you to all of those that's on Zoom that came out to support Maxine and Claudia. Just thank you. And if you'd like to be on our show, if you just visit our website at mothersanddaughters.info, and there is a scheduler there, and I will contact you and we can make that happen. Because this is about empowering women and our younger daughters. So God bless you. Good night. I love you all. And Valerie, it was great to hear you.
Yes. I'm so disappointed I didn't show my face. My hair is looking very nice, but today it's horrible. So sorry. But I'm glad I was able to join in. And like I said, if I would have known, I would have been on. But
oh well, next time we'll do something again. Just remember, we're going into the month of April, which is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and I will definitely be having some very interesting guests for the month of April as it pertains to mothers and their children. That's just the social worker in me.
Yes.
Love you all again.
Love you too.
And good night.
Good night. Love you.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.